Und. Mambition.
Oh, Tiffany. Hello, I've missed you.
I
Hi,
know.
everybody. It's Mambition. I'm the sort of normal one. I'm Alex.
This is Tiffany trying to be normal but failing miserably.
It's
um,
been
and, and,
ages, can I just
and
say,
Laura's like,
before we
what's
get
going on?
started? Yeah, it's been a while. I've been on holiday. I feel completely out of the swing of doing a podcast, so show me how it's done, Tiffany. Come on.
Love that, love that. And I bet you've been on holiday, Alex, but you don't feel well rested, right? Tell us about
Oh, I
that.
definitely don't feel well rested. I mean,
Good.
going on holiday with a 5-year-old. I posted about this on LinkedIn, and somebody was like, "It's not going on holiday. I would call it taking a trip because it's not a rest, it's not a vacation, it's a trip when you've got children in tow." And I couldn't agree more. You know, I did genuinely forget what the sound of silence is like. I just sort of loosely knew it was a concept and knew that I had experienced it in the past, but. Yeah, when you've got a child who talks from the second his eyes are open until the second his eyes close for 7 days, it's a lot. I mean, I had a nice time. Let's just also caveat it with that.
Exactly. I love that. And Laura's like, what am I doing this podcast? She's like, OMG.
Well, I mean, I can contribute on holidays not being holidays.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, it's a lot, isn't it, once you've got
Yeah,
children?
I'm going to call mine trips now.
Trips,
Love that.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we do it for love. We do it for love. We do it for love. So yeah, guys, we've got Laura Jenkins, and she's amazing. She's got a cool collection of jumpers, just to let you guys know.
Yeah, if you're watching the YouTube, you will see a beautiful one.
And on the professional side, she is a commercial litigation partner at specialist disputes law firm Stewarts. She has 2 children, aged 3 and 5, and she works full time. And another really cool fact for you guys is that Laura is spent 25 years playing rugby, which I think is incredible. And I want to hear about that. We want to hear about that because I think that is really cool. That is really different. Like that version of you, because I think sometimes, motherhood does like take up a lot of like space in our lives, which is great. We're not complaining. But I want to hear about that Laura, that Laura on the pitch, the one that showed up every week, or I don't know how often you practice, the bad weather, been tired, the injury you mentioned. Do you have any stories for us? No pressure.
I've got plenty of stories for you. Lots of them I probably can't tell you. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she mentioned how when you go and meet people now, you meet people largely as a mother, or you meet people at work. And she said, do you know what? I used to do loads of fun things, and I used to introduce myself to people with those. And she said she found herself in like this group of mums introducing herself, and she just wanted to like put her hand up and shout, I used to climb mountains. Because you never talk about it, do you? Like, it's really nice for you to ask, because nobody ever asks me about rugby ever anymore.
25 years is a hell of a commitment to that as well.
It's longer than I've had kids. So yeah, it's nice to be asked. Thanks.
You've just made me.
I used to enjoy.
You've just made me think. I've got a big framed print downstairs that says "We used to be cool," and now my son can read. He's like, "It says we used to be cool. Did you used to be cool?" I was like, "Yeah, like I still am cool, but like there's a bit of a joke here, Ted." But I know exactly what you mean. You lead with, "I'm a mum of one," and
my daughter had a role model day at school last Thursday, and she wore an England rugby kit. She wore it because she found it in her room. She didn't wear it because her mum used to wear England rugby kit. Because she doesn't really know. And it's quite a funny balance, isn't it? Like, what do your children know about who you
I think they just think...
I mean, you're still that person, but...
Like, we didn't exist before they came along. Yeah. We're just like a blank canvas for them to write on. Yeah. Which, to an extent, is kind of true.
Yeah.
But
so thanks.
Well, I think it's interesting, like the discipline,
Well, I was just going to say discipline. That's exactly where I was going with that as well.
Like discipline, the team spirit. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, there was lots of it. So I started playing rugby when I was 7,
Oh, wow.
My dad, who's sadly since passed away, but my dad was Welsh. I've got an older brother.
Same.
He
I
took
also have a Welsh dad, hence
There
the
you go.
surname Morgan. But yeah, I feel you on the rugby level. Gareth.
My parents took my older brother down to play rugby when he was 9, and I spent about a week on the sidelines and then said, why can't I play? I want to play. Which gives you an idea of my character and what I'm now facing from my 5-year-old daughter, who is exactly the same. And then that was sort of it, really. I started playing. When I started, there were no girls' teams, so I was the girl playing in a ostensibly mixed team, but the only girl. In fact, my mum, where I grew up just north of Brighton, and I've been out in Brighton on nights out, and people have come up to me and said, are you that girl that used to play for Burgess Hill? That's how unusual it was.
Wow. Like all these years later. That's crazy.
Years later. Yeah,
so you're the only girl.
I was the only
and
girl.
What did that experience of being the only girl, because that's quite a unique position to be in, what did that give you, do you think?
Yeah. Focus, I think. I'm quite competitive, and I didn't like the idea that people dismissed me because I was a girl, which was quite obvious when you're in that kind of environment. And don't get me wrong, I had brilliant coaches. No one on my team would ever have said, oh, you're not allowed to play or you shouldn't be playing, and certainly had the full backing of my parents and everything like that. But you would have people from other teams sort of going, oh, it's a girl, or maybe we can score on the wing because she's playing out there. And so that meant that I didn't miss tackles because I felt like I was letting down all of female kind. If I let somebody
that's a heavy responsibility as a small child, isn't it?
I think I did it to myself, to be fair. But it sort of encouraged me, and that you'd sort of have a sideline full of dads who knew that if somebody made a comment about the girl on the team, that would cause me to play better. So they used to kind of feed in little comments. Oh, I think we heard such and such say this about you. Just play stronger and stronger. So it didn't really work, but it spurred me on. It spurred me on being the only girl. It did mean that I'd never had a changing room I could go in, though. So that was
just have to go and get ready in the toilets or something like that.
Toilet. Worse, I had to get washed after games in the toilet.
Yeah.
I can tell you about all of the sinks in Sussex rugby clubs in the women's toilets, like how big they are, whether you can climb in them.
And do you still play as well?
I don't anymore. So I played until I was 31, and I retired. I had neck surgery, so that's now done. But probably at the end of my career-ish anyway. So not a massive problem.
Yeah. It's interesting what you I think it's interesting what you said about this idea of someone trying to egg you on with that negative kind of, almost like, like touching on that, the fact that you're the only girl. And I think it is interesting because if you think about a lot of people when they go on that, creating success journey, a lot of people actually start with the negative. So usually chip on their shoulder. So I do think there is something there in that, like, I want to, I was bullied in school, so I'm going to be successful. I'm going to show those kids that I'm like better than that. Or my parents went great to me, and I'm going to go on and, I don't know, like do something great with my life. But it's usually that. It's never like, I grew up in a loving environment. I mean, it does happen, but it's a small amount of case of people that actually do start from like I grew up with so much love and, loving parents that I actually want to be successful. It's usually the negative, isn't it? Like, I want to prove a point. I've got a chip on my shoulder. I want to show people I'm not, what they thought I was. So it's interesting, isn't it? How like that narrative typically spurs us on. And I was just like, just a thought I was having in mind.
No, it is interesting. I wonder if it helps. It sort of it possibly gives focus.
Maybe.
And maybe that's the way it's a lesson in how we encourage and praise people, in that people are more often told about something that's wrong or they've done wrong than that they're told about something very positive, in particular if it's something relatively small. I mean, gender's not small, but it's something sort of relatively innocuous to most people. If somebody hones in on that and tells you it's a negative, it gives you the thing to focus on, doesn't it? Because you go, well, I'm going to take that and that's what I'm going to run with. Whereas people you don't really get as much
that's true
pinpointing of specific things that are positives as often. Maybe that's it.
And then do you feel like some of that drive that you had through rugby has also shown itself in your career? Have there been like parallels with, you know, how you've approached things, or are you completely different?
No, I think I'm quite similar. And I also think a lot of the things that I learned from playing team sport and sort of elite competition very easily carry over into work. I mean, things that I remember having a discussion about our appraisal system with people and how we promote people. And I have been in an environment where you get, I was about to say positive criticism, but you get feedback on a weekly, daily basis on what you are and are not doing well, or why you have and haven't been selected for something. It's not left to guessing in sport. And in work, it often is. People just go, oh, it's not your year, or it is your year, you know, positive and negative. They don't say, these are the skills we're looking for.
Yeah.
This is the way we want to run our business. This person that isn't you has got X, Y, and Z skills, and that is why they're being promoted. Your specific skills, we think, are X, Y, and Z. If you get really good at those, next year's your year. People don't really do that. And so I had quite a long, hard chat with some of my partners a few years ago about how we need to. And people aren't necessarily used to it, so it's quite a big transition for people to hear positive and negative feedback. But you have to do it. Otherwise, you just, as an individual, left guessing, or as a boss left with people that aren't performing in the way that you want them to. And that doesn't work for anyone.
And that's really interesting as well, because I think people, you know, as a manager or as an employer, it is much easier to give people like the nice positive feedback than to highlight areas that they need to improve. But really, that's where the growth is. Being told that you're good at something is not going to help you to improve the areas that you know, maybe struggle with or are finding hard, or don't, you know, maybe don't even realize you're finding hard.
Exactly.
And I think then there's all of that, it's left to interpretation. And so people can feel like, I guess, a grievance that so-and-so was promoted unfairly. Whereas if they can actually understand what it was and what they need to aim for, that sounds like a better system for everyone. But then you
have to do it quite a lot. Like, you can't just sort of wait once a year and sit people down and go, oh, we've been thinking about it. And you have to sort of give that feedback all the time. And I think if you looked at it from a sport perspective, you know, I was a flanker, so not much passing involved in my game, lots of hitting things. But if I was making passes in training that were just never going to target, somebody would definitely have told me. You know, or if I was always in the way because I was messing up the lines that the backs were running, somebody would have told me immediately. And so then it doesn't then become such a negative, because everybody's giving feedback to each other all the time, because you know that if you don't give that feedback, the team as a whole can't operate. And I think sport just gives you that sort of a sense check. I don't know that it is, because I grew up with it, so.
But that makes sense. It's natural to you, but maybe to other people, it's a bit more like, oh, different. Yeah. And I wonder if that sporting foundation kind of, I don't know, tweaks the way you take feedback or criticism. Do you ever wonder that at work? Like, can you take criticism a lot better because maybe of that sporting foundation, do you think? I'm interested now, because I know that at work, you know, there must be something to do with like how women are like giving feedback. I saw some research a while back about how it tends to be something about their personality more than like their actual work. And I'm interested to know, because you've reached such an incredible height in your career, do you think the ability to take feedback from a sports perspective has kind of gave you like a solid way to take feedback at work and kind of do what you need to do and not take it personally, or that sort of thing?
Yeah, I do think so. I think
Okay.
because I'm used to receiving it.
Yeah.
And I'm also used to it being delivered both well and badly.
Okay. Okay.
And so, whether in work or in sport, actually. And so
Yeah.
I think that helps you to recognize what is actual feedback and what is just the way that somebody's explained
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and it just builds some resilience to it, I think. And so you do take feedback. I was never particularly big as a rugby player. I've had coaches saying, well, you're not big enough. Well, there wasn't really much I could do about that. Certainly not in the short term. And you're sort of as big as you're going to be. I'm never going to be
Just get my platforms on to like play rugby.
Exactly. And nor am I ever going to weigh, I'm never going to weigh 80 kilos. It wouldn't matter how hard I trained. I'm just physically not capable of being that big. And so being told you're not big enough tells me that coach is never going to select me for that role. Because that's what they're focused on, or for the particular way that this team wants to play, I'm not the right person. So then you move teams, or you find a team where your skills fit, because that's how you're going to be successful at it. There's no point in sitting in a team where somebody's made a decision that you're not going to succeed. And I think in sport that's just really quite cutthroat in a sense, and people are quite. I don't know. I don't know. I've only really been in my business, so I don't really know how it works elsewhere.
Well, that makes sense.
People don't look at work in the same way when actually they should. Well, from my perspective, I feel like they should.
No, but that makes sense. That's all pragmatic, almost. What you just did that was very pragmatic. Yeah. Yeah, it was like, no, but I like that because if I look back on my career, I definitely know that I've made a lot of emotional choices. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think sometimes I wished I'd kind of was a bit more pragmatic and thought, okay, Tiffany, this is a toxic workplace right now because of that manager. If they left, you should stay. There's a career, there's a really good role I had, I don't know, quite a while ago. It's probably 10 years ago now. And I always look back and I think I wished I'd stayed, and I kind of just let me ride out the curve a bit because it was quite toxic. But then not long after I left, a few managers left. So maybe if I'd pragmatically thought, okay, 3-6 months, but I didn't because I was so emotionally tuned in. I think sometimes it's something a lot of people struggle with, perhaps a bit of the way they were raised. Maybe we didn't get an opportunity to play sports and build that in ourselves. But then I also know you said you were raised by teachers, right? So I'd love to hear how that sort of pragmatism kind of flows in your life.
Yeah, I think it probably comes from them as well. And it's probably why there are people that let me play sport, that both my parents are quite sporty. My mum was a PE teacher. My dad played rugby. So I've been brought up in a sporting environment by teachers, sort of lends me to being a very pragmatic person. And both my parents taught in sixth form colleges, for the majority of their careers. And so they always treated me like I was sort of 16 to 18. So even when I was sort of 11, 12, 13, 14, I was treated as if I was capable of making my own decisions in the way that an older child would be. And so I feel that also feeds in as well. I think, pragmatic is probably the best description of me I can think of. I'm not a particularly emotionally driven person. I'm a pragmatic person. Yeah, I think you're right. That probably also comes from having teachers as parents.
And then in terms of them doing that and letting you make your own decisions, do you think that's really fed into it, that you're comfortable in taking your own decisions and making your own decisions because of the way they, I'm assuming they talked it through with you, that they weren't just go ahead, do anything, but it sounds to me like they kind of coached you a little bit in that, you make your own decisions, but maybe they talked it through with you a bit and stuff, and but it gets you to a point, I guess, where you are, instead of at 18 where it's suddenly all on you, you've had that transition period where you've become really comfortable about making your own choices, and I guess accepting your own mistakes and learning from them as well.
Yeah.
That sounds like an interesting way to grow up.
Yeah, it was. And I'm very grateful. I had a very solid family life and parents that were very good. And now that I'm a parent, I look at what must have been proactive parenting decisions by them that I would have just, you don't really appreciate that that's what's happening, and that's what's happening to you. And I'm very fortunate that that's what they were doing.
Okay.
But yeah, I would have been told what they would have thought was a good idea, I think.
Okay.
And then I'd have been given this sort of scope of what they thought was a good idea. And if I decided to do something entirely different, well, so be it. And then they would have supported me in whatever I'd have done, and there wouldn't have been a "we told you so." But
that sounds so healthy.
They probably know that I'm quite sensible, so I was never. They probably, from the day I was born, was like, "Oh, this one's not. This one's not a risk taker. We do what we like with her." So I don't know how it'd work out if you had kids that were a bit more inclined to break the rules.
Interesting.
No, but I often think, now I look back and I think our parents were doing the best with the tools that they had. And now we have to do the best with the tools that we have. That's the way I look at it, because I think I certainly have a lot more understanding of my dad and forgiveness for my dad now than when I was younger. I was like, oh my God, he's so stingy, or this and that. But now I look back and I was like, man, he was just doing it. Like, he lived in a time when, I don't know, he had to go to work. It was a single parent. There's a lot there. And I think that frame makes you look at your life as well, and the conscious decisions you're going to make for your children. But yeah, I think reflecting on your parents usually just gives you that lens of understanding and trying to think about what you can do differently. So, but yeah, it's
definitely.
And I think I was just going
to, isn't it?
It really is. I was just going to say, Laura, that I think it's interesting as well that you at the time, it maybe felt like they were just letting you make your own choice, but now you can see it was intentional. And I think that it is interesting that being a parent gives you that perspective to see things that maybe even looked like them just going, come on, Laura, you make your own choices.
Yeah.
That there was an intentionality behind it, and they had made that choice to let you have make decisions to, and I think it sounds like such, I'm thinking, what can I learn from this? Because it sounds like that's a real opportunity to guide your children towards being independent by doing that. And do you think it made you more independent as well, to be given that kind of free rein?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm not inclined to take risks anyway, and that's probably innate. And two, I think I've always been quite independent, full stop. So those two things probably go quite well together.
Yeah.
And then I think about it now, I definitely wouldn't let my daughter do this, but I walked myself to primary school when I was, I must have been year 3. So what's that, 7, 8? Because I said, no, I can walk myself there, and I want to walk myself there. And I remember that I mentioned this to my mum not that long ago. I was like, why on earth did you let me walk myself to school? You're mad. And she said, because you wouldn't let us walk with you. But we used to follow you to school.
Oh my goodness.
I did live very close to school. I used to picture them now like hovering around behind me. But they were walking my big brother and my little brother to school.
Just like at a furtive distance for you not to see them, but let you do it.
I used to make my own sandwiches, but I wasn't really allowed to use a knife in the kitchen. So I used to just take a bread roll, a chunk of cucumber.
Wow. I mean, I don't want to draw
courses.
I don't want to draw like similarity, but even like that sort of because you spoke about like how you first wanted to make sure that you reached quite a senior level at your career before you became a mum. Do you think that sort of sense of like intentionality as well, it was at the back of your mind while you're making decisions about when to become a mum? Because you said that you wanted to establish yourself first and make sure that you'd be the credibility of the relationships and autonomy.
Sort of. I guess
Okay.
I don't think I gave proper consideration to being a parent, actually. I didn't give consideration to being a parent.
That's a loose term.
Consideration seems a bit tough. Did I think about it properly? No. I think I was very focused on making way in my career. So I definitely went into law. Hurdle one is getting a training contract. That's
Yeah.
terribly difficult and even harder than it was back in my day. But challenge one, getting a training contract. Challenge two, qualifying. Challenge three, when am I going to make partner? And I am ambitious. I am competitive, and so that's what I was aiming for. And I don't really think I thought very much outside that in terms of, well, what does my life look like after I've made partner, and how will I have a family? And I just didn't really cross my mind until I was in my mid-30s, and it coincidentally is when I made partner, but they're not really aligned, or not intentionally aligned. And thought, oh yeah, we should probably have children if we're going to have them. And I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to have them necessarily. But we sort of reflected on it between us and decided that's what we wanted to do. And so therefore I did have children after I'd already made partner. But I don't think I parked having children in order to make partner. I think they just both happened in my mid-30s.
I mean, I totally get where you're coming from, because I was I was in a similar situation of, I think, just enjoying life and not being sure if I wanted to have them. And then, we've all got 5-year-olds, so we're all COVID parents. And I hit 37, I believe. And I'd had said, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to have to do it now. Then COVID hit, and we were like, no, we don't really have the luxury to just see how this pans out. We're just going to have to do it and hope the world rectifies itself. So I was 38 a month after we had Ted. So older parent. But I had decided I really did want to do it by that point, but I just don't think I thought through how I think I thought that a baby just slotted into your life.
Yeah.
And that, they were not quite an accessory, but that, they sleep when the baby sleeps, all of that stuff that people say to you that turns out to be total nonsense about being a parent. This is actually harder than I thought it was going to be to juggle the two.
Yeah. And I have definitely now, when I look back, I was working on an insanely busy case that settled in sort of 2016. And during the course of that case, and I was working really long hours for sort of 2 years or so, senior associate level. And one of our barristers had twin babies during the course of that trial. I had 2 colleagues had maternity leaves and small babies, but they were doing the same work that I was doing at the time. And when I look back now, that's mad. How are they doing that? But at the time, I definitely had not appreciated how much else was going on in their lives in order to be able to do the job we were doing. I don't think I gave them nearly enough credit for it.
Yeah.
And
I think we're probably all guilty of this.
I have no idea how they did that. I don't know. But they did.
And it's even that, people return to work, and I was probably guilty of the, oh, you had a good time off, have you? The stuff that's you're furious to hear now as a parent.
Exactly.
It wasn't a break, was it?
Yeah, exactly. But you don't really, because I hadn't properly thought about it for myself, I didn't really then sort of impose that understanding on other people. I didn't really get it, I don't think.
I feel like it's maybe one of those things you can't, you can try and put yourself in their shoes, but you can't, you think you know what it's like to be tired. And you're like, oh, actually, no, this is something completely different. And so now you've got that understanding. And, I think in law, it can be quite female dominated as well. You were saying it when we spoke on the kind of pre-call that we did, that actually it's quite a supportive environment that you're in, but you have had to make choices and sacrifices and kind of pick which things you're willing to compromise on. So do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think the profession has really changed, and that probably does correlate quite a lot with women making their way up through the profession, actually. It is it's very difficult still. And I think you just have to make personal choices on what you are willing or not willing to do. And also you have to sometimes accept that progress might not be as fast as it would have been if you didn't have other time constraints.
Yeah.
In lots of ways. So I think that sort of career mapping process, or specific work related case mapping, how many staff do we need working on this? Well, if we can't rely on everybody working 16-hour days, which we probably shouldn't be doing anyway, but if you can't rely on everybody doing that, how do you staff it? Do you get more people involved? Because it's just things that really are just it doesn't really make a difference whether it's time constraints because of family or time constraints because of something else. Just the ability to allow people to have a life outside work. I think all organisations need to look at themselves as to how they're trying to make sure that people can have lives, and that is really difficult in an industry where we're client driven. So everything is driven by when a client wants something. Clients want things during their working hours, which means that you have to work not their working hours in order to deliver them sometimes. And so there will always be that sort of pulling between what is reasonable to expect of people and what do we need to deliver. And sometimes those things really conflict. But provided you've got, or at least you're trying to create a structure where most of the time people have got some control over their lives, then hopefully when those pulling things happen, it doesn't tear because people haven't prepared for it. You're just saying, right, well, we're going to need a bit more leeway from you in this particular period of time. Can you do it? But the rest of the time, we're going to try and make sure that your life is protected. And I think that's family or any other commitments, caring commitments or children commitments, or just the fact that you are learning another language or whatever it is you're doing and you've committed to do with your time. We should work in environments where that can be protected and accommodated. It requires lots of people talking to each other all the time about what they're doing, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Sorry, that was a very long-winded and not pointed answer to your question.
No, I think it is. And I think as well, there definitely are things that you need to compromise on. And, I like that you're framing it as a kind of a personal thing, and that there is, because we're always saying on here, we're not experts in parenting. We're not even, we want to talk to ambitious people, but we're not experts in all of these different careers either. So I think the idea that there is personal choice in that, and then how do you go about kind of communicating some of those personal choices with colleagues? Like, what red lines would you draw with them?
I try to protect bedtime and bath time if I'm doing them, and so I won't be looking at emails if I've done school pickup. That's me. I'm done until after I've got them to bed, which used to be about 7 o'clock and is now more like 8 o'clock, 8:30, depending on what kind of mood they're in.
Yeah.
So that time span has grown.
It's like you've been living in my house.
Yeah, but, especially in your head, you're like, well, I've told people that I'll be back online at 8. So how am I going to
Can you please just go to sleep?
Yeah, please go to sleep. But when I'm doing that, it's in my diary. So people know that I'm not contactable in that period of time. Like I've said, that is not every day, because there has to be a balance between when I'm not available. And I'm also quite conscious that if I'm blocking out that time and then picking up work later, that me picking up work later doesn't then impact on everyone else's life. So I'm not expecting everybody to then be back online when I'm online, because you can't dictate what other people's working patterns are in that way. So it's just a constant balance, but I just try to tell people and be quite obvious about it. And if somebody says, well, whether it's internally or externally, you absolutely must be on a call at 6:30 when I've committed to not being available, but then I have to rush around trying to work out some other childcare arrangements, which is not ideal. But it is, I think it's communication. And I also think sort of more broadly than that, recognising that you are making a choice, I find quite important, to myself at least. And I used to do it with rugby as well, but I have chosen to continue working 5 days a week and have my children. And so I have chosen to have complicated childcare arrangements that sometimes work and sometimes don't. There are changes I could make to that, but I recognise to myself that they are choices. So when I'm sat there thinking, oh, I wish I'd spent more time with the kids today, or hadn't only spent time with them when they were super tired and needed to go to bed, I sort of can reflect on the fact that it was my choice to do that because I chose to continue to make progress in my job in the way that I have before, rather than just sort of feeling bad about it. And then I choose when I'm with the kids to only commit my time to them and not look at my phone, and to try and make the absolute most of the time that I've got with them, or do fun things, or, try and engage as much as I can, in order to compensate for the fact that I'm not there as much as if, I was about to say, if everything else being equal, I would be there more, but I've chosen to be there. I've chosen not to be. And because I've chosen that, I sort of feel like I can stick with it.
Does that help? Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, Alex, I was going to say... No, Laura, you go on. I think you were just finishing.
No, I'm not sure what I was going to say then.
I was just going to say something, so I just want to say something. No, that's an interesting frame, and I think it probably, again, like you said, comes from your sporting background. But I think I also recognize that often in life, when we make choices, when we kind of feel like we've made it in advance, it makes that choice, I don't know, it gives us peace with that choice, and I think that's often where it's at. It's like when you say to yourself, okay, I want to be, I don't know, this year I want to be, I don't know, you want to be a great parent, or I want to make, I don't know, 70% progress in my career. And sometimes if you say in advance, like, okay, I want to actually make sure that the parenting side is the most important or the priority. As the year goes on and things come up, or you're dropping the ball at work, or dropping in your other kind of pursuits, because you've made that choice in advance. I think there is a friend that
I think it helps sort of set my expectations. Like,
yeah.
I think we're sold this, you can do everything.
Yes.
And I actually do. Maybe there are people that can, but I don't feel like I can do everything to the best of my ability all of the time without collapsing in a heap in the corner at some point. And so I feel like I have to sort of say to myself, well, I'm probably not going to get out into the market and meet as many connections as I possibly can when I've just come back to work from maternity leave, because I'm not going to have the time to do that, one. And so rather than try and half-heartedly do that, I'm going to recognise that I can't, and that I'm choosing not to do that because I want to spend more time at home, or because I want to spend less time stressed, or because I want to, And so if I find it helpful to feel like I've taken ownership of things. One, because I think it makes me do them better, but two, because then I think I can reconcile it to myself more. And as you say, I think that has to be evolving. So, I'm halfway through this year, I might go, look, the kids are at an age now where they're really fun, and I miss spending more time with them, and I want to create that time. And so then I will have a choice to make about whether I reduce my hours, or like how I manage that. And don't get me wrong, I'm incredibly fortunate to have those kinds of choices, and I know that a lot of people don't. And so I find it just helpful to give myself that context for what I'm doing.
Really like that, because it sounds so intentional, that you're thinking actively about the choices. And what I'd been going to say before was just, do you find that helps with, the mum guilt that everyone talks about? Do you think that, I'm not saying you probably don't feel any, but does it help to be intentional about it? That it helps you kind of keep things in perspective, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I think my husband suffers from mum guilt more than I do, to be honest. Partially, I think, because he doesn't have the context of what it would actually be like looking after the children all day, every day. And so, in my head, I am a better parent in a sense because I'm not with them all the time, because I've then got a balance between what I am doing for myself and what I'm doing with them. And that might be quite a bit controversial, but I think that gives me that sense of, well, I'm going to focus on them when I've got them. I'm not trying to do a million things at once. I'm doing this thing and that thing. And I can try and sort of keep a proper handle on both of them. Whereas I think my husband is a bit more, he's sort of got mum guilt more. He feels worse about not being there all the time than I do.
I also don't think it's controversial to say you're a better mum for time away from them. I think, Tiffany, we've spoken to so many people, and we've spoken to each other, about how you do need that time to be yourself and follow your own. I mean, it's the whole thrust of this podcast, isn't it? That it's about ambition and how you still want to carry it forward, and that it shouldn't be impossible to do because you have children, and often that time away from them is what feeds your ability to be a good mum, a patient mum, a happy mum, all of the things that matter to raising children. Whereas if you just spread yourself so thin and put yourself last, because I think there's so much sacrifice often in the dialogue about motherhood, isn't there, that you know, a good mum is one that's putting herself at the back of the queue, but right at the end. We don't agree with that.
I think I'm definitely guilty of that. But I agree. You just have to, being able to achieve any kind of balance or control over your life when you've got small children, I think is an ambition in itself.
But you know, I also think that idea of knowing, because I often think about like Mambition and what make, you know, like this whole idea of motherhood and success, or having a fulfilling motherhood experience, because I think maybe that's what Mambition is. I don't think it's about how to achieve success as a mum, because what does that even mean? But I think to be to have the best motherhood experience. Oh, sorry. Is it not working properly?
Yeah, sorry, you dropped out completely there. I think you're back.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, I think my internet keeps dropping out. Don't worry, I'll edit it later. But no, I was just saying how, like, motherhood, I think in itself is about, you can't just take the conventional or typical advice, wake up at 6, sleep when they sleep. I just think it's so unique in itself and now so much nuance that you do have to kind of take a step back and like choose your own frames, choose your own, make peace with what you can't do, make peace with what you can do. Can you have hobbies? Can you not have hobbies? And, like when you're, like you said, do the things in advance, when you're a bit more intentional about what motherhood needs to look like for you. I do think it makes it much more interesting experience, and it gives you something. Because one thing I refuse to do is to have this motherhood experience of just like sacrificing myself for my children as well. I often think like, how can I get something out of it? And the things I do I do little things to get something out of it. One of that is owning like a thermos flask, for example. So I always have hot coffee. And honestly, I don't care what anyone says. Being in the park with my kids on a Saturday, and I've got this, and I take a sip, and it's really hot. I feel like, I don't know, it's like this, like, I can't explain it, but it gives me something.
It's something that you've done for yourself, isn't it? It's something that you've done. Do you know what's important to me and will make me feel like me? Having a hot coffee. How am I going to achieve that? I'm going to make one in a thermos that I've bought and taken with me. And it's those little things where you're just controlling something. So I think one of the things I've found hardest about having children is all of the inconsistency and all of the, like, I'm used to being someone, you might have been able to tell, I have control over things, and I plan things, and I can engage with them, and I can make sure they happen. But with kids, you just can't. You'd have to sort of just throw your hands up and go, well, I'm going to do the best I can here, but you might not want to leave the house, and then it's going to be terrible.
Or you're going to be sick again.
And then I'm stuck. So you're constantly dealing with this like total unknown. And as someone who is very unused to that, that was a real eye-opener. So any like little things you can get, we're like, right, this is for me and it's going to happen, is a massive win.
But fun, isn't it, how it humbles you? I think it humbles you, because you think how children can be so, again, they're so, we spoke about this, they're so logical, like, I don't want my daughter, like, for example, is so specific. I don't want to blue, like, for example, this is it. trying to butter a toast for her, and she will tell me to. So I've taken the butter, I've put it on the knife, and I'm about to put it on the bread. She will tell me to take it back into the butter container so that she does it. And I'm like, I can't unbutter this like knife. But she was like, no, but she means it. And I'm like, wow, that's so interesting. Like, I thought life had to be like black or white or but my children have taught me that no, there are some variations, and it teaches your mind how to communicate or to appreciate that people are different. But my daughter wants that control because she's 3 and she's a big girl. So, and she wants me to treat her like a big girl. So it's fascinating how I was saying how it teaches you how to communicate, or it gives you more empathy for different types of people, or just to be a bit more open-minded, that what you thought made sense might not make sense. And I'd love to hear from you, Laura, just how that work fits into like your work post-motherhood and how you communicate.
Yeah, definitely. And also I had exactly the same conversation with my 3-year-old about butter on toast the other day.
Oh, no way.
I put the jam on as well. He wanted it all taken off, the butter removed, and then the jam relayed.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
It's maddening, isn't it? In a funny way, but
totally a power thing. But then you have that moment, or maybe you don't, you're better than me, but I was like, right, what do I do now? Do I insist that if he wants the toast, he only has the toast? Like, that's it.
That's it.
No messing around. You've got what you've got. You ask for butter and jam on toast. That's what you're having. Do you make a whole new bit of toast? Do you say you're not eating anything? Like, what do you do? And you just you're making all of these decisions all the time. And you just feel like, oh, if I cave and I just give him some new toast, that he doesn't then put butter on, or probably then decides to put butter on anyway. Have I completely? Am I giving it? Am I being too?
Am I pandering?
Am I doing this wrong? Is he then going to expect this all the time? And blah blah. And you can't win, can you? But as a character into work, or by the time you get into work, you've done about 6 sets of negotiation before you even get there. But you do. I find. I think I said before, but I'm a litigator, so a lot of the time, you're either going to court or you'll be settling things. There's a lot of negotiation involved in my job, and if you can negotiate with a 3-year-old about whether or not the butter needs to go back in the container before they have their toast, you can negotiate with whoever, and it just makes you communicate more directly. I think you're more time focused, so I'm much less inclined to have like big, long, unnecessary meetings. Like, what are we doing? Who is doing what? When are we going to get it done? Let's just move on. Because that's sort of how you have to do things with the kids. You've got less time and you need to communicate more clearly. And you need to have sort of key things that you want to take away from it. It's exactly like running a meeting.
Are your clients
how you ought to run a meeting?
More or less reasonable?
Well, it does depend. At least it teaches you to expect the unexpected.
I mean, that is it, isn't it, about children? I think that is one of the key lessons of expect the unexpected. And it's funny, I've had a similar... Ours was about having a peanut butter and jam sandwich, though, where Ted was like, but I wanted to do it. And you're like... I tend to say, well, these are your options. You can either redo it or you can do it tomorrow, is the other one that I give him. Yeah. I give him like a suite of 3 options. I'm like, they're your choices. You got to make one. Like, normally picks one, normally is then reasonably happy with it.
Yeah, exactly. No, we try the same. Sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes you're sat there going, I wonder when this crying's going to stop.
Yeah, and that's just you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. As all of my patience drains away.
Oh, it's those days where you just feel like you need a good few deep breaths, like
exactly.
Before you re-engage in the toast conversation. Like,
what isn't parents like?
Yeah, putting milk back the other day as well. Putting milk back into the carton because he wanted to put it on his own cereal.
Classic.
Oh, I love it. Well, I love it so much because I think for me, sorry, I was going to say, like, I think I've learned that there's a lot to take from that. I think there's a lot around, like, did we sweat the small stuff too much? can I be a bit more easygoing? Can I laugh at myself? I've just taken a lot of that from my children, in just how, like, this is chaos. Like, I can't believe this. Like, what they require of me. And I'm like, really? Like, the other day, I remember, like, trying to get my kids to school, and my son was, just on edge of being late, and my daughter wanted to come in the last minute. I thought, can't take you as well. I just have to get you ready. And I was like, ugh. And she was like, Mommy, why are you not smiling? I thought, so now I've got to be emotionally regulated while I do this with a smile. But then it's just like, I think it's the unexpected, like, asks, and from you, it makes you really stop and think. And for me, it's certainly born a lot of, like I said, spontaneity, ability to laugh at myself, to not take things so seriously, to not care as much. I used to care too much about a lot of stuff. But yeah, I think he's brought that into my life. So I realized that why was I so stressed out about things that didn't matter, when actually, like, nothing really matters, because it's just all chaos, and you don't even know what sort of morning you're going to have anyway. So you might as well be ready for any kind of morning. And surely, I feel like that's been a multiplier for me anyway. Just this sense of, like, everything will be okay. Like, whatever situation comes up, we'll figure it out, and we will just figure it out somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have to, don't you? You have to just figure it out. There's no actual parenting manual that works, and so you just have to run with it and see what happens. I love watching the kids when they're just playing. You just think, when do we lose that? When do we lose that ability to just go, I'm going to go and pretend to make myself an omelette? Imagine if you did that, but how freeing. Like, it's just, I'd love to be 5. Just that, the way they think is just incredible. And they're just really inquisitive, and they ask loads of questions about everything, and you have to come up with answers that are age appropriate to all sorts of things. And it just, I'd love to learn from my children how to just think more sort of, I was about to say basically, it's not really a word.
Creatively, I guess.
Creatively.
Yeah.
Like, just they're not they're really good at lateral thinking. Some of the questions they come up, you think, well, how did you get to there? But that's just because they're just trying to piece things together. Whereas I think we sort of have an expectation of knowledge. And so we think, oh, I should know that. Or that works like this because I've seen it before. Whereas they don't have that. They just go, here's a problem in front of me. What shall I do? And that's such a good thing to be able to do. So maybe they should teach us stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I do love that kind of conversation that you have with little kids. And for me, it's always bedtime. It's always bedtime when you're sucked into some bizarre conversation that you didn't anticipate having. Like, the other night we were talking about things that weren't real, like creatures that weren't real. So we'd talked about zombies, and then I'd said something about mummies not being real, and he said, but mummies are real, aren't they? I was like, well, yes, but not the ones that kind of come to life and like chase you around. And he said, oh, well, what are mummies then? And I started saying, well, again, like you're saying, age appropriate. I'm like, this is bedtime. And I'm saying, well, it's just what the ancient Egyptians did to sort of deal with their dead. I'm like, oh, I don't really like the way this conversation's going. And he said, oh, why do we not do that anymore? And I'm like, I think we've just come up with new ways of dealing with dead people. Anyway, now it's should we just go to sleep now? And you're like,
whipping up a can of
this
worms.
has really spun off on a tangent that I don't know is appropriate for bedtime. And I find myself in that space quite a lot, conversations about the Bermuda Triangle just before we go on a plane, and, stuff that you don't necessarily want them thinking about. But it is enjoyable. Their little minds are very interesting.
Yeah. And you have to, like you say, you start explaining something, and then you start going, oh, the next step in explaining.
Why did I say this?
Horrible road. And I don't want to go there. So how are we going to go away with not talking about that? And so you really have to use your brain to work out what you're going to say, how you're going to explain it to them. And you're doing it on the hoof all the time. And like you say, always at bedtime, when you're also thinking, that's a really interesting and fun question, but I really need you to go to sleep now.
Can you park it till tomorrow?
I need to get to work, For me, it's always like, let's wrap this up so I can get back to work. That's,
But at the same time, she'll really encourage that creative interested thought process. Just like, this is the best. You should definitely be thinking like this. But
Yeah.
tomorrow.
I don't know whether their minds are just wandering in a creative way at bedtime, or whether it's I don't know whether it's a delaying tactic.
Oh,
I don't know if it's
I
intentional.
think it's intentional. I think they've made a list during the day. Ooh, that was interesting. I'll bring that up tonight.
I think that's quite likely. Oh dear.
But they're fun. It's fun. It's fun.
It is fun. It is fun.
It's fun. It makes you do things in a way that you weren't doing it before. I think that's got to be good for you, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%. And
I think what you were saying about just like the open-mindedness, I think that's I've always thought that was interesting. Just like I've kind of thought to myself, like, yes, we're raising them, but they're raising us, and it's interesting when you sit with that, just how much you get. I mean, I've thought about like even reading books to them. They're reading their books, what I get from reading their books, because I can't lie, I don't read books anymore. You know, I used to say reading books was a hobby on my like CV. Like I said, reading books. Now I'm like, no, you can't even say that. I can't remember the last time I read an actual book that was an audio book, or I actually finished it or whatever. So I actually can say now I've read like probably like, I don't know, 30 books this year, right? Because we've read lots of books.
Not Ruffalo.
The room on the broom, yes. Tiddler. I mean, those are, you know what? Maybe we should read more of those books, because I'm not being funny, but I get a lot from Tiddler. I mean, Tiddler's about a small thing with a big imagination. Do you know what I mean? He goes on his journey. Nobody believes him. Johnny Dory is the only person who believed Tiddler's story, but Johnny Dory was someone who encouraged him, because everyone has said, oh, you're probably telling porcupines, but Johnny Dory said, I love Tiddler's story, and he told the writer. So that's the advocate right there. I think about like, so I do think there's so much there that we can take into our lives that will be more useful than those other books we're reading, those business books.
Yeah. And I agree. I love children's books. If I could ever get my head around writing one, I'd definitely love to do that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Fun, aren't they? And there's something. I think we had one from school the other day that my daughter brought home. That we all read it. And I'm like, there is no like moral to this story. Like, what is this? And we got to the end of it, and she was just like, "Well, that was weird, wasn't it? What was supposed to happen?" I was like, don't know. And it was a parable. Like it was an old tale about something. But we couldn't work it out between us. And I was thinking, I'm not even sure I can make the leap on this one. She's just like writing it off.
Don't bring this one home again.
I've gone to some other kid this week.
Ted's absolutely terrible for bringing
that weird crocodile book home. And she said,
Oh,
no, I told this little boy to take it home with him. Ha ha.
It's not an Aesop's fable, is it? There's definitely one about a crocodile where it's like chewed the ears of an elephant and made them really long, or something stupid.
It was a crocodile. It was a rabbit that lived on an island, and it wanted to get across to the mainland, and it managed to persuade some crocodiles to make a bridge for it. But then there were some other stories that were even weirder than that one. So no, we couldn't work it out. But beyond the weird crocodile story, I really like children's stories too. And you're right, it's quite relaxing reading them and just thinking about what message they're trying to send, and through the power of a lost fish. Why not?
Well, I think Julia Donaldson, I think she's incredible. Like,
Incredible.
how can you write that many books that actually I like? I genuinely love it. Like the smoothness, Neds and Room. I'm like, give me this wizardry you have, lady. I want it. But no,
It's so impressive, isn't it?
it really is.
So impressive.
But sometimes I do wonder if we need something similar for mothers. I don't know, but maybe we get as much
There
wisdom.
you go. There's a project for you.
Yeah, I have thought about that. There was do you know Dr. Seuss, All the Places You Go? I did one actually. I did a version of All the Mother You Be. Yeah. So yeah, because I just think like, I don't know, sometimes I think we spend so much time raising these children. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. I chose to be a mom, I'm not complaining or anything. Don't come at me for anyone. But I always think like we this is a life projects. Like some kids don't live in the house till they're 30 because, we all know what's happening with interest rates and getting a property ladder. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, this could be potentially, I don't know, 18, minimum 18 years, right? So how can I get something out of this too? How can I not maintain the person I was before this, but how can I enjoy this journey with them? I want to get something out of it. It will be hard, it will be tiring, but what can I get out of it? And I think sometimes when you look at it like that, it seems selfish to the world because they think mothers should sacrifice themselves. But to me, I genuinely have fun with my kids because I'm always thinking of like, but let's have fun, and I want to have fun, and
Yeah.
I think when you do that, I just think I don't know, maybe we can enjoy a bit more and not suffer through it, which is the narrative we get.
Yeah, no, I agree. That narrative is pretty prevalent, and I think we've sort of covered in this discussion. There's so much that we get from them. Like obviously, there's massive logistical issues, exhaustion, all of those things that we get from them. But we also get, and we've got young children, all of us, but you also get a different way of looking at things. They're learning all the time. So what can we learn at the same time as them that would be good for all of us? Can they pick up a language, which they seem to be able to manage bits and pieces of because their brains are like little sponges? Can we learn at the same time? Can we, how can we develop? My husband is obsessed with the idea of being able to play sport with the kids.
Okay.
Sport's been such a big part of our lives that we sort of want to carry that on. And so I can't play any sports that you can also, one, keep doing until you're really old, or two, I've never played any sort of individually type sports. So on my list of things to do is learn how to play tennis and learn how to play golf properly, because they are things that we can go and do with our children, and if they'll be willing to. But what can we do with them? What can I learn? How can I then make sure that relationship continues and that we all sort of end up a sort of happier family at the end of it than we were as individuals before? Like, it is a massive journey, and it's a huge chunk of your life as well. So
it's also the bit
to think about what the outcome is.
It's also the bit that you're going to look back on and be like, oh, like I try and tell myself, even on the days where it is a logistical nightmare or something's gone wrong or whatever, these are the days that everyone looks back on and is like, oh, when my family were little and stuff like that. Like, we're in the good old days, and we probably need to appreciate that as much as we can while we're in it, rather than I don't want to just look back and go, oh, wasn't that nice? Like, I want to appreciate it at the time rather than thinking, God, this is a total headache, which if you read my LinkedIn posts, you might think that, I'm always suffering through it. But that's because I'm trying to be funny. Me and Ted are learning chess together. We do chess on Duolingo in the mornings before schools.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And we really enjoy that. I mean, I think he's probably better than me. I'm not very good at it. But I'm teaching him it's all right to not be great at things.
Yeah, well, exactly. But that's something in itself, isn't it? Like teaching them that you don't know everything, that you also learn and need to learn, and I do find it really interesting. And yeah, we are constantly on the lookout for things that we can all learn how to do together. And there's lots of things I don't know how to do, so that won't be hard.
Well, I think, on a final note, it's kind of like also the type of children we're raising for the world that I don't know what it's going to look like when they're, it's their turn, I suppose. Because I often think about because of the way my dad was raised, and he has such an emphasis on education, like formal education. My dad never cared so much about sports, and I wished he did, because there's so much I've learned over the course of my life that I'd probably say I took 10% of it from education. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't use algebra anymore. And I think that's how I look at my children now.
Don't you? I do every day.
Yeah, I know, like pi. Sorry, what? Anyway, it's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, because I think I look at school and I think school is teaching us maybe how to learn, but beyond that, I'm not sure if a lot of the information is relevant. Maybe how to have friends, and how to maybe do homework and be disciplined, how to come somewhere on time, maybe how to sit down sometime and do listen. But I just think outside of it, I'm always thinking to my children, of my children, what do I need to help them learn to be well-rounded, have a good life, which is full of different things. And I often think it's maybe to be kind to themselves, how to communicate, to be open-minded, to think, to have ideas, to it's a lot of things, right? Obviously, but yeah, I do think along the way of as I'm thinking about my life, I'm thinking about that as well as the potential end goal for them. And it's interesting how a lot of all that becomes important, and school again has its place, but that's another thing, the thread, right, that runs through this the whole parenting journey.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And just what do you want them to be like as grown-ups? Insofar as you have any hand in that at all, who knows? But how do you want to shape their future? What skills do you think are important that you're going to make sure they have? Like, it's so hard, isn't it? And again, and from my perspective, with the luxury of choice, similarly, my parents were both teachers. My grandparents were all were miners or factory workers, and so they really strongly believed in education. It was that was the way out, in effect. Like, as a miner, if you didn't want your child to end up in the mines, you made sure they had a education that would give them more opportunity to do other things. And so my parents became teachers because they had very educational backgrounds, and then they gave me the opportunity. Well, obviously education was important. I became a lawyer, but they focused on education still. And then I'm sort of almost in a position where I take education as a given, and I'm looking at, well, what else do I need to give my children? How do I give them this sort of well-rounded character? And how do I give them all these soft skills? And how will we prepare them for the world ahead, rather than just, being in a very fortunate position where I'm not only thinking, or not only able to think, how do I make sure they get to school, and how do I make sure they've got food on the table, which is an incredible position to be in. But you constantly having to think about that, aren't you? You're like, what is the outcome? What do we want from it? What do we want for them? How do we get them it? Which is another additional parental responsibility, bringing people up into an uncertain world, right?
100%. And I think you touch upon something me and Tiffany have talked about before, of like, ambition changes as you become a parent. And there is an element of that is about your ambition for your children. And for me, it's around him being happy but confident. And I think, it doesn't sound like any of us went to private school. And I feel like the difference between kids who went to private school and went and didn't is often just that confidence to put themselves out there, to believe in themselves. So for me, that is like my top want for my son, that he is confident, that he puts himself out there, that he believes in himself, and everything else I think then falls into place. But ambition for your children really is one of those things that, like you say, you maybe don't have as much control over it as you'd like, but you can still have that ambition, and not in a pressured way that maybe some of us experience. Maybe I'm looking at Tiffany here, experienced about education.
Yeah, I agree. It is that. It's that ambition that actually is sort of hope for them, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not that I am living through your ambition. The sort of, well, you will become a doctor or a lawyer type ambition. It's the how do we ensure, insofar as we can, that you have the best possible life? How can we make sure that you can do and be whatever you want to be? Like, and that, that's quite a weight to carry if you think about it too much, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. Just got somebody else's life in our hands.
I need to lie down now. And you know what? That's I know we're running out of time. But that's actually a great place to park this aeroplane. Is that that idea of ambition? And I want to take it back to your ambition, actually, Laura, because I think I've often said that we've had quite a lot of it's very typical for women once they have children, becoming a mother, to kind of change career or not need that flexibility. And clearly you kind of find in your career, which is incredible. Let's touch on that. Like, I don't want to say where's your ambition. Where is your ambition right now? Like, what does ambition look for you in this season? But I think more the question also, like, how you find that balance. It's a big question, but like, how you find that balance of, like, having like you said, a structured job as a constant. and the stability. I'd love to hear a bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that I'm going to become a lawyer and become a partner is a quite clear, direct ambition, line of ambition. And so once you've made partner, then your ambition is a less specific goal in a sense, because it does not attach to a label anymore. So it is then just about how am I building a collective practice, collective law firm that is succeeding and sustainable for the future. And I don't think that's actually necessarily particularly different to somebody who's sort of gone off on their own and they're setting up their own business, doing something else. Because ultimately, I'm a business owner. I just happen to own that business with, I don't know how many now, nearly 100 other people, rather than just doing it by myself. And so, in a sense, that gives me the structure and the comfort that if I am unable for X month because I've got a constantly sick child or whatever to suddenly bring in loads of work, develop the business, move everything forward, there are other people doing it. So you've got collective responsibility rather than individual responsibility. And I find that really helpful. I mean, I hope I'm not the person dropping balls all the time, but if everybody's in the same boat and everybody's running the business together, then you've got a bit more support than if you're going out and doing it all by yourself. And I've got, huge credit to people that go off and do it by themselves. But I think as we've established, I'm pretty risk averse and I'm pretty pragmatic. So doing it within the confines of a structure that already exists, win. Doing it without having to take additional risk that's all on me, win. It just is quite, I feel like you get a lot of moving parts in your life when you have children. And I've got one constant, which that I've got a successful career that I continue to develop as part of a business that already exists. Then that is the one thing that I was about to say probably not, but not going to mess with, because it just is there. It's done, it's set up, it's already running. I can rely on it. And so I will.
Nice.
Love that. Mic drop.
I don't know if I've just made that sound like the easy life. I should have made it sound really tough. It is really tough. But you'll notice I didn't address balance because I'm not sure that's possible.
Fair.
Of course.
Hard.
Right. Well, I think that's been great. I've really enjoyed the conversation. And where do people find you, Laura, if they would like to see you more, know more about you?
I'm on LinkedIn and the firm website, for what it's worth, which is stewartslaw.com. But yeah, otherwise they're the usual places.
Cool, thank you. And let me just get back on my podcasting. I don't know, routine here. We've had a week or so off, and I can't remember how to do it. Right, as Ted would say, smash that like button. Please leave us a review. That is one way that you can help us to be discovered by other people. We do have a preference for 5-star reviews, but, just leave us one, please. And if you found this or any other episode useful, please share with somebody you think would like it. And follow us on socials, blah, blah, blah. I'm padding that one out. Thanks, everybody. Oh, has Tiffany disappeared? Is she still there?
Still there.
No, I'm still here.
I'm still there. Good. Right.
All right.
Catch us on the next one, everybody.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.